Ganymede. In Greek mythology, Zeus' young lover, the cupbearer. Now, um, we're going to be talking about the Ganymede archetype symbol, his place in the cult, if you will. And, kind of obviously, but Ganymede's a young boy associated as being Zeus's young lover. So there's a pretty explicit pederastic theme running with this character, which, at the time wasn't really looked down upon. Not saying I support that now, but you know what I mean. At the time, those people, it was just part of schooling or relationships, Then here's our first citation. We got the Dictionary of Greek and Roman Biology, or Biography and Mythology. Sorry. And good little bit. Just really like the last part of this. The Romans called Ganymedes by a corrupt form of his name, Ganymede. Ganymedes was an appellation sometimes given to handsome slaves who officiated as cupbearers. So again, this archetype, this position, this figure Ganymede, he's representing an aspect of daily life, of culture. He's the handsome slave. It's the cupbearer. And that's, demonstrating that it's not just the Greeks. The Romans adopted this character as well. And then Homer, first, I think it's the first written evidence for Ganymede we have. 8th century BC. Ganymede, who was the loveliest born of the race of mortals, and therefore the gods caught him away to themselves to be Zeus and wine pourer. So there's the, original. You got Ganymede, most beautiful of humans, stolen by the gods to be his cupbearer. And then, again, stolen by the gods. We just saw a reference about the Romans giving Ganymedes, or what was their translation of it, as a nickname to their sex slaves. In Roman mythology, the story of Ganymede remains relatively unchanged. The main difference is that Jupiter, and not Zeus, who captures and makes Ganymede his servant and concubine. In Roman understandings of this myth, the connection of Ganymede to homosexuality is made even more explicit than in Greek interpretations. Some surviving Roman literary works blatantly call Ganymede Jupiter's concubine. So, it's out in the open. There's not hidden about it. This is Ganymede, the cupbearer. This is his aspect. This is how we understand him in classical history. He's the cupbearer. He's in the alphabetical order. It's 89. Reverse the alphabet, it's 154. If you reverse the alphabet and you use numerology, so Z is 26, but because you're using numerology, 26 is 2 plus 6 is 8, and it's reverse. So A would be 26 and Z would be 1, and then you use numerology, so A would be 8. If you use that cipher, cupbearer is 55. The word abduction has those same 3 values using those same 3 ciphers. Okay? And remember, Ganymede was an appellation, sometimes given to handsome slaves who officiated as cupbearers. Cupbearer. Abduction. So, a fun coincidence. And Suetonius and the 12 Caesars, which is dated 121 AD, he's writing about how Octavian and Mark Antony, there's a lot of propaganda going back and forth between them. Rome's on the verge of civil war. And then he's writing about some of the stuff people alleged against Octavian. And this is accusations of homosexuality and effeminacy. As a youth, he was reproached with various sexual improprieties. Sextus Pompey taunted him with the charge of effeminacy, while Mark Antony accused him of unnatural relations with Julius Caesar, as for the price of his adoption. So, we have Mark Antony accusing Octavian of essentially giving himself up as Julius Caesar's sex slave. And in return, when Julius Caesar passed away, he left everything in his will to Octavian. He gave Octavian his name. So, he's basically calling, Octavian Caesar's Ganymede, And then we're going to get into the Bible now. You got all that background. Now we're going to jump into the Bible. And we got Mark 32 to 36. They went to a place called Ganymede. And Jesus said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." He took Peter and James and John along with him, and he began to be deeply distressed and troubled. "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death," he said to them. "Stay here, keep watch." Going a little farther, so Jesus, he says to his disciples, "You guys stay here." He takes 3 of them with him, and then he says to them, "You stay here and keep watch." And by the way, I'm kind of distressed right now, guys. So we got Jesus he's feeling some type of way. He's telling everyone to give him some space. He takes his best friend, and then he tells them to give him some space. So it's being portrayed that Jesus is alone here. He takes a couple steps, going a little farther. He fell to the ground and prayed that if possible, the hour might pass from him. "Abba, Father," he said, "everything is possible for you. Take this cup from me. Yet not what I will, but what you will." Again, that was Mark 14, starting at verse 32 to 36. And then we have the Secret Gospel of Mark, which is written in approximately 150 AD. So it's, 30 years from that 12 Caesars reference earlier. And it's pseudo-Clement, so it's someone pretending to be Clement of Alexandria. But we have it, 1st century, so let's see what it says. Alright, immediately after the section which begins as they are on the road going up to Jerusalem. Okay. The Simon rebuked her. Immediately there was a young man. He stretched out his hand and raised him up by taking him by the hand. The young man looked on him and loved him, and began to beseech him that he might be with them. They came out of the tomb. They went into the young man's house, for he was rich. After 6 days, Jesus laid a charge upon him, and when evening came, the young man comes to him with a linen robe thrown over his naked body, and he stayed with him that night, for Jesus was teaching him the mysterion of the kingdom of God. Okay. Well, what do we got? Oh, this is Strabo's geographies. Alright. Why are we in Strabo again? This is highlighted. The pirates, therefore, under the pretense of trading slaves, continued without intermission their invasions and robbery. Under the pretense of okay, yeah, so like we all know pirates are, their constant that they're selling is slaves, human trafficking, sex slaves. And this is another, ancient source. I believe Strebo's first century, second century. Yeah, and the pirates, they're trading in slaves. That's a given. That's what we know about them. And then, oh wait, yeah, they're calling all their young, most beautiful slaves Ganymede, who serve as the concubine cupbearer. And okay, well, I'm not sure why that is in there. Oh yeah, Jesus had said to them, Mark 14:48, "Have you come out against me as a robber, with swords and clubs to capture me?" Now that word robber, Greek word that's used in Mark 14:48. Jesus says, "You came at me like I'm a robber, a pirate." Well, let's see this first definition. According to Perseus Tuss, edu. To be carried off as booty, to be won by force. Okay. Well, we just saw how pirates are associated with carrying people off as pretense. That's what they're known for. Now it says, oh, robber or pirate. Okay, that's a little more direct. Okay. So, okay, yeah, we saw that he left his disciples, and then he told his other 3 disciples, his close friends that were with him, you guys stay here. And he's distressed, he's going forward, he falls on his face, he's saying, Abba, take this cup from me. And then when he's getting approached by the law, by the police of the time, he says, his first response, before even being interrogated, is, have you come out against me as a pirate? As someone who's carried people off? Before even being questioned, have you come out against me as a sex trafficker? I don't know why that would be his, initial response. It doesn't really make sense. But if we get to Mark 14:51-52, a young man wearing nothing but a linen garment was following Jesus when they seized him, and he fled naked, leaving the garment behind. Okay. So we started Mark 14:32. We're in Mark 14:52 now. In these 20 verses, we got a naked boy, Jesus yelling out, I am not a sex trafficker. Why are you arresting me like I'm a pirate? We have a direct reference to a cupbearer. And we have Jesus telling his disciples, you guys stay here. I'm going to go be alone in the garden before he's approached by the law. And when he is grabbed, that's when are you naked boys running away? What is going on here, guys? What is going on?